the stock exchange. So here's what you do. Every corporation has to produce a little bit of information about itself so that that corporation can be evaluated by people who are going to buy the stocks. When you see what that corporation is doing, you can go, oh my God, look, high quality products, that's great. High output, that's incredible. Maybe there's even some innovations. On paper, the company looks great. And then you look and it's in the red. Every time it's losing money. Well, you might go, well, geez, that surely, since everything's working right, surely this will work itself out. This company's in the red, but not for anything that they're doing. It's an accident. It's an accident of circumstances. And so you might be willing to put some money into their stock, especially if their stock is going for kind of low. And so when you put your money into that stock and buy their stock, you're giving that company money to compensate for the money that it lost when it was making its sale. In other words, as long as people are buying stocks in the stock market, a lot of these companies that are sort of on the border, they're in the red but not too deep, can actually keep themselves afloat with stock sales. And it isn't long before not only do people figure this out, but they figure out they can manipulate the system. So Joseph Kennedy, this is how he makes his killer money, right? He already had a little bit of cash. His family had started these restaurants. So he's staking this money, and he goes to the New York Stock Exchange, and he begins actively manipulating the markets. And here's what he does. So he'll go to a company that's failing, it's dying, it's in trouble, it's in that red zone. And he would buy a bunch of their stock. Their stock's going to be cheap because the company's failing, it's in the red. So he buys a bunch of the stock, and then he goes and he makes a story in the news. A newspaper. He prints a story in a newspaper saying, wow, look at this company. It's doing great. High output, high quality product. You know, the price of the stock is slowly going up. And the reason the price of the stock is slowly going up is because he's buying the stock. So the stock is slowly going up. He goes, look, it's on a recovery. Well, the middle class has a little bit of cash. And in the 1920s, the middle class is looking to the stock market because they're thinking, wow, that's how the rich are getting richer. Surely we can get on board. All we have to do is go invest in the stock market, and that locomotive, that economic locomotive that's pulling the rich along will pull us along too. The problem with the middle class is they exist in a poor information system. They don't have the kind of information available to them that the upper class does, especially guys like Joseph Kennedy who are actively manipulating the system. So Joseph Kennedy is putting the story out. The middle class see the stock slowly going up, and they can't help but jump on board. By the time the middle class is jumping on board and buying the stock that they're buying is the stock that Joseph Kennedy is selling them. But because the price has been going up, he's making a profit because he bought the stock for less. Initially, investors in the stock market didn't invest because they expected the stock to go up in price. It was a way to invest to get a share of the profits from that company. What Kennedy is doing is he's not worried about profits. He's investing in a company he knows is going to go bankrupt eventually. He's trying to manipulate it so he can buy the stock low, get the price up, and then sell and get out. Who's going to end up owning the stock in that company then are all the people he suckered into buying it. And because he's selling, the price is starting to come down. And as the price starts to come down, everybody will start to sell. And eventually, too many people will sell. And the stock price will collapse on that company. And the company will go bust. And the middle class, who got suckered into buying all those stocks, then gets stuck with a collapsed company. And they lose their money. In the meantime, Joseph Kennedy has made killer cash. And so this is how the 1920s roar on, with people actively manipulating the system to try and get better gain. In fact, I tried to find the Kennedy quote. I can't find it. At one point, Kennedy said something to the effect of, thank God for the middle class, otherwise who would we trick into buying all these worthless stocks so that we could make all this killer cash off of them? He gets so fabulously rich, Joseph Kennedy becomes such a powerful, wealthy individual, he eventually buys his son the presidency. Right? So this is no small thing. During the 1960 presidential campaign, there was a slogan, and it went, "What's a Kennedy campaign button? $20 bill."